All right, 7th graders, today we're going to go through and correct your review. By now your review should be complete. You should have scanned and attached it in Google Classroom and turned that assignment in. And you should have a pen out in front of you right now to correct as we go through the review. Pause the video if you need to take a moment to do that. All right, as we go through the review, please be starring the ones you got right, circling the ones you got wrong. If you have any questions, be sure to ask or take some notes on the incorrect problems as kind of a refresher. All right, we're starting with problem number 5. So number 5, you have to write a numerical expression for each verbal phrase. This is where on the test, when you have these types of problems, you should try to do some coding. So this says the total, and I know that total means to add. The total number of students if there are 19 in one class and 13 in another. I do see this number 1, but that's just telling me how many are in a class. That isn't really part of the total. So to find the total, I would add 19 plus 13. Remember when you are doing these types of problems to watch for word phrases like more than or less than, because remember, then means at the end. So if I am saying like for more than 6, that means I'm doing 6 plus 4. The plus 4 goes at the end because then I went to the Dairy Queen, then I added 4. The number of soccer players on each of the 5 teams if there are a total of 35 players. So I know that there's a total of 35 players. There are 5 teams. I want to find out how much is on each. When I see the word each, that's kind of telling me that I'm dividing it up. And I would take the total number of students and divide it among the 5 teams. I would not solve these because they're not asking me to evaluate. They're not asking me to write an equation. They're simply asking me to write an expression. How would I solve that? Okay. Another reminder is if you have a fraction of, remember that a fraction of something means to multiply by that fraction. Excuse me. Moving on to number 7. We're now going to go through the steps of order of operations in order to solve. Remember that when a number is right next to a parenthesis, that this means to multiply. There's like a hidden multiplication symbol in there. So 6 times 7 is 42, and when I add 3, I come up with an answer of 45. Star that correct if you have it. When you have both parentheses and brackets, remember that you do the innermost one first. So I'm going to start by just leaving the 4 alone, leaving the bracket alone, bringing down the plus 2, and I simply solve what's inside the parentheses, and 12 minus 4 is 8. I can bring down the parentheses, but they are not really needed because there is no number right outside the parentheses. There's a bracket and a plus sign. So I finish by solving what's inside the bracket, and 8 plus 2 is 10. And again, when a number is right next to a parenthesis or bracket, that means to multiply, so the answer would be 40. Notice I'm boxing in my answers and I'm working my way down, showing the steps. Number 9 is a similar problem. So again, I'm going to bring down all of the pieces, and step 4, solve what's inside the parentheses, and 6 minus 2 is 4. Now if I combine what's inside, 6 plus 4, I get another 10. And when a number is outside the bracket, that means to multiply, and this one multiplies to 30. In number 10, we have both multiplication and addition. Remember that multiplication is more powerful, so therefore I am going to do the multiplication first. It is okay to multiply both at the same time, and then just bring down the plus sign between them. So I'm multiplying our 9 times 2 and 8 times 7. Now I'm going to add 56 and 18 together, and if I go to add them together, I can see that I came up with an answer of 74. Right? Questions so far? Okay. All right, going on to number 11. I have parentheses, so I'm going to start with what's in parentheses, which is division, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, and now I do 10 times 2, which is 20. Okay. Number 12, I bring down the 4, I bring down the 25 in the division. I'm going to solve what's inside the parentheses, which would be 5 when I add 2 and 3 together. Now I solve what's inside the bracket, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. And now I multiply 4 times 5, and 4 times 5 makes another 20. Number 13 was a word problem where you had to go through and solve this one. I threw it out because you're not going to have to do anything like that on the summative. So let's go to number 14. In number 14, you're now going to translate this into an algebraic expression. To translate it into an algebraic expression, that just means it's going to include some variables in it. You can also do the coding at the top. So I see the quotient of a number. They didn't tell me the number, so I could put a variable there. Doesn't matter the variable. And 3. So that means, remember that the end tells me where the division sign goes. So my answer would be x divided by 3. I could also write that as a fraction, which would be x over 3. Remember on the summative, when it comes to translating, that you should be doing the coding at the top as well. That's going to help you be able to pick out the right expression that matches the verbal phrase. When it comes to problems involving variables, remember you have to first rewrite the problem, substituting in the number that is represented. So in this case, because C was 11, I substitute in 11 for C, and I rewrote the problem, and then I solve. 16 minus 11 is 5. When a number is right next to a variable, remember that that is a hidden multiplication. So this becomes 3 times b, and in this case, b is 8. And then I'm going to put that all over a, and a is the number 4. Then I'm going to add to it ac. Again, remember that when two variables are next to each other, that also means to multiply. So my a is 4, and my c is 11. If I take a look at this, division comes before addition, so I need to do all of this first. I'm going to start with what's on top, which is 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24, and I have that all over 4. And then I'm going to add to that. It's okay if I do this multiplication at the same time, which is 44, but I need to finish the division before I add them together. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Then I bring down the plus 44, and when I add 6 and 44, I end up with 50. Questions there? All right, just a couple more left. In number 20, I have 6, and then I am adding A, B, and C together. In this case, A is 4, B is 8, and C is 11. It is helpful for you to do just 2 at a time. That way, if you make a mathematical error, it is easy for me to see and catch. But 4 plus 8 would be 12. And now when I add the 12 and 11 together, I end up with 23. If I want to multiply those together, I could do 6 times 20, which is 120. and then the 6 times 3, which is 18. And if I add them together, I get 138. Even if it is a number and two variables next to each other, this all means multiplication. So I am multiplying together three numbers in the first set. Those numbers are going to be the 2, the value of A, which is 4, and the value of B, which is 8. And then I'm going to take and add to that A, which is 4, times C, which is 11. All the multiplication has to come first. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I have 8 times 8 plus 4 times 11. 8 times 8 is 64. 4 times 11 is 44. And if I'm going to add those two together, I get 108. There you go. That concludes the practice. You're going to turn this into the sub. When you take the summative, remember to be quiet, remember to be respectful, remember to put the boards up. Remember that we're not going to walk around, that you're going to have something quiet and academic to do afterwards with it. You do not get to use a calculator and you do not get to use a cheat sheet. You're just only going to need a pencil for this summative, and I know you're going to do great. Take your time and have a great day.